Arsenal vs Man City, Community Shield 2026. Pep Guardiola is gone. 10 years, 20 trophies, the greatest era in Manchester City's history. Over. And the man who's supposed to follow that? Enzo Maresca. His very first competitive match as City manager isn't a gentle opener against a newly promoted side. It's Arsenal, the reigning Premier League champions. The team that ended a 22-year title drought last season and has no intention of stopping at one. But here's the thing, neither team is at full strength. City have lost Bernardo Silva, Rodri can't play, Arsenal are missing Saliba, and both squads are still trying to figure out who they are, without the players who defined them. So when these two walk out at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff this Sunday, is it a football spectacle? Or a survival test between two sides caught in the middle of their own reinventions? If you want the full tactical breakdown, the predicted lineups, the new signings who could start, and a score prediction backed by data, stay until the end. Hit subscribe, tap the bell and drop a like. Let's get into it. Match info. The 2026 Community Shield kicks off at 3 PM local time, that's 2 PM Greenwich Mean Time, on Sunday, August 16th, 2026 at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales. Capacity 74,500. The match is being held in Cardiff rather than Wembley because the National Stadium isn't available on this date. By tradition, the Community Shield pits the Premier League champions against the FA Cup winners. Last season, Arsenal lifted the league title. Manchester City won both the FA Cup and the League Cup in what turned out to be Pep Guardiola's farewell campaign. This will be the 217th meeting between these two clubs in all competitions. Arsenal lead the all-time head-to-head record with 100 wins to City's 67. But recent history tells a different story, and the last time they faced each other in the Premier League, back in April 2026, City won 2-1 at the Etihad. Erling Haaland scored the winner. That result matters, not because of the 3 points, Arsenal still won the league, but because of the psychological edge. City know they can beat this Arsenal side on any given day. And that's what makes this more than a curtain raiser. Manchester City, the Maresca era begins. This is Enzo Maresca's first official match as Manchester City's head coach. Let that sink in. He's replacing a man Mikel Arteta himself once called the best manager in the history of football. 10 years of Guardiola, 6 Premier League titles, a Champions League, a treble, the most dominant period any English club has ever experienced. And now it's on Maresca's shoulders to keep that standard alive. But he's not inheriting the same squad Guardiola built. Bernardo Silva, the heartbeat of City's midfield for 7 years, has left for Real Madrid. Tijjani Reijnders is on the verge of a move to Al Qadsiya in Saudi Arabia. And then there's Rodri, the 2024 Ballon d'Or winner, the best player at the 2026 World Cup, the single most irreplaceable midfielder in world football. He's just undergone back surgery, was the last player to report for pre-season, returning only on Friday, and is almost certain to miss the Community Shield entirely. And that's not even the worst of it. Barcelona offered £38.5 million for Rodri this summer. City rejected it. They want nearly double. But Rodri's contract has just 1 year remaining. If City can't agree to an extension, or find a buyer before the window closes, they risk losing him for nothing next summer. It's a ticking time bomb hanging directly over Maresca's head, before he's even picked his first team. So who has come in? City have spent heavily. Elliot arrived from Nottingham Forest for a club record £116 million. Gianluigi Donnarumma joined from PSG for £26 million on a 5-year deal. Ryan Ait-Nouri from Wolves. Omar Marmoush. Marcus Bettinelli. In total, City have invested north of £200 million in this transfer window alone. But spending money and building chemistry are two completely different things. Pre-season offered mixed signals. A 1-1 draw with Inter Milan followed by a penalty shootout loss in Maresca's first match in charge. Then a 3-1 win over the K-League All-Stars and a 3-1 victory against Atletico Madrid. 2 wins and a draw looks acceptable on paper, but the performances suggested a team still searching for its identity. Maresca himself admitted as much. We will try to close the gap on Arsenal. One more concern. Savinho missed training this week due to illness. His availability for Cardiff remains a question mark.
Arsenal, champions but not whole.
Arsenal enter this match as the reigning Premier League champions, their first league title in 22 years. It's the achievement Arteta has been building toward since the day he walked through the doors at London Colney. But he knows better than anyone how thin the margin was. 7 points. That's all that separated Arsenal from City last season, and the title race was tight until the very final stretch. To hold on to the crown, Arsenal need to be stronger. Not the same, stronger. And right now, they're weaker, at least at the back. William Saliba, their number one centre-back, the defensive pillar around whom Arteta has constructed everything, is nursing a long-term back injury. Arsenal have confirmed surgery isn't required, but the timeline for his return remains unclear.
Jurriën Timber is dealing with a separate hamstring issue and is also unavailable.
That's their two best centre-back options, both missing. It's exactly why Arsenal have been in negotiations for Jurriën Timber from Bayer Leverkusen, after a deal for Ezri Konsa at Aston Villa fell through. Arteta addressed the situation without naming names. We want to improve the squad. We want to develop the squad to reach our goals. Everyone understood the subtext. Arsenal are urgently looking for defensive reinforcements. On the transfer front, there's been significant investment. Bruno Guimaraes arrived from Newcastle for £75 million on a 4-year contract with a 1-year option, a marquee signing who instantly upgrades the midfield. Christos Tsolis, the Greek winger, cost £35 million.
And Piero Hincapié, the Ecuadorian left-back, was signed permanently from Bayer Leverkusen for £34.5 million after a year on loan. 3 quality additions, but the question is always the same. Can they gel in time? Pre-season results were inconsistent. Wins over MK Dons 3-0 and Girona 4-1 were encouraging, but defeats to Real Betis 1-3 and Borussia Dortmund 2-3, followed by a 1-1 draw with Como that Arsenal edged 4-3 on penalties, exposed familiar vulnerabilities. 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Not disastrous, but those defeats against Betis and Dortmund revealed exactly what happens when Saliba isn't there. The defensive structure loses its anchor. The positive news? Arteta confirmed that both Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka are available for the Community Shield. Both are back from World Cup duty and fit to feature. And one more thing that will reassure Arsenal supporters. Arteta, whose contract expires at the end of this season, sent a clear message. They don't need to worry about that because I want to be here. Predicted lineups. Let's talk team sheets. According to Al Jazeera, Arsenal are expected to line up in a 4-3-3. David Raya starts in goal. The back 4, from right to left, Ben White, Christian Mosquera, Gabriel, and new signing Piero Hincapié. In midfield, Bruno Guimaraes partners Miles Lewis-Skelly. The front 3, Michael Madueke on the right, Martin Odegaard through the centre, Christos Tsolis on the left, with Kai Havertz leading the line. Notice what's missing. No Saliba, no Timber. And Rice and Saka are both expected to start on the bench, having only recently returned from World Cup duty. If those two don't enter until the second half, Arsenal will be without enormous quality in both central midfield and on the right flank for the opening 45 minutes. That's a significant handicap, and City know it. Manchester City are predicted to start with Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal, his official debut for the club. The defensive line features Nuno Mendes, Ruben Diaz, Josko Gvardiol, and new arrival Ryan Ait-Nouri. Midfield, Mateo Kovacic alongside Elliot Anderson, or potentially Nico Gonzalez. Up front, Savinho on the right, Phil Foden centrally, Antoine Semenyo on the left, and Omar Marmoush as the striker. Erling Haaland has returned to training following the World Cup, but is expected to start on the bench and be eased back in gradually. If he comes on in the second half though, that's the kind of substitution that changes everything. A fresh Haaland against tiring centre-backs who've already been without Saliba for 90 minutes. That's a nightmare scenario for any defence. Last time they met, the lesson from April 2026. The last time Arsenal faced Manchester City was in the Premier League in April 2026 at the Etihad. City won 2-1. Ray and Cherki opened the scoring for City. Kai Havertz equalised just 2 minutes later.
But in the second half, Erling Haaland scored what turned out to be the winner. A decisive goal that cut Arsenal's lead at the top of the table to just 3 points and threw the title race wide open.
For a moment, it looked like City might hunt Arsenal down, but it was City who stumbled in the weeks that followed, and Arsenal ultimately crossed the finish line first. The lesson? Even when Manchester City aren't at their absolute peak, even in a season of transition, they can still beat Arsenal on any given day. One match, one moment. That's all it takes. Arteta knows that, and he won't take anything for granted on Sunday. Tactical comparison. Both teams are in transition, but the scale of that transition is completely different. Arsenal have lost Saliba and Timber from their defence. Devastating absences, no question. But the rest of the squad is virtually untouched. Odegaard, Gabriel, Rice, Saka, Havertz, all still here. The 3 new signings, Bruno Guimaraes, Solis, Hincapié, add genuine depth and quality. If Arsenal's squad is a house, they've lost the roof, but the foundation is rock solid. City have lost the soul of the team. Bernardo Silva, gone. Reijnders, on his way out. Rodri, unavailable. And the manager who held it all together for a decade has been replaced by someone who hasn't had a single competitive match to implement his ideas. Yes, they've brought in Anderson, Donnarumma, Aït-Nouri and Marmoush, but that's 4 or 5 new faces in the starting 11. Chemistry takes time, understanding takes reps, and the Community Shield might have arrived too early for Maresca to piece it all together. The data backs this up. Opta ran the fixture through their supercomputer and produced the following probabilities. Arsenal have a 45% chance of winning inside 90 minutes. City have a 30% chance, and there's a 25% chance the match ends level and goes to a penalty shootout.
Those numbers reflect reality. Arsenal right now are the more complete team. The 4 factors that will decide this match. There are 4 things that will determine the outcome on Sunday. The first is Arsenal's defence without Saliba. This is the single biggest vulnerability on the pitch. Mosquera and Gabriel can form a partnership, but they lack Saliba's composure, his range of passing, and his ability to read danger before it materialises. If City get Savinho and Semenyo running at that back line with pace and directness, Arsenal could be in serious trouble. The second is how quickly the new signings adapt. Both squads are packed with fresh faces.
The team whose new players settle faster will have the edge.
Bruno Guimaraes, having played in the Premier League for years at Newcastle, should acclimatise more quickly than Elliot Anderson, a player who's never operated at the level a top 4 side demands. The third is fitness after the World Cup. Several key players on both sides, Haaland, Rice, Saka, Rodri, have just come back from a gruelling summer tournament in North America. Who manages their workload more effectively will have a clear advantage in the second half, when legs start to tire and concentration slips. And the fourth is mentality. This is Maresca's first official match. The weight of expectation, succeeding Guardiola, justifying a £200 million spend, silencing the sceptics. All of it lands on his shoulders the moment the whistle blows.
Arteta, by contrast, already has a Premier League title in his pocket. He can afford to breathe, he can afford to take risks. And in football, a relaxed mind almost always produces better football than a tense one.
Prediction. Let's be honest, the Community Shield rarely reflects the true pecking order. It arrives too early, before squads are fully fit, before new signings have found their rhythm, before tactical systems have been drilled into muscle memory. But it's still a trophy, and both Arsenal and Manchester City want to start the season by lifting one. My prediction? Arsenal 2-1, Manchester City. Arsenal will control the game through the stability of their system, a framework Arteta has been refining for 3 years, with far fewer moving parts than City's.
The first half could end 1-0 or 1-1, with goals likely coming from set pieces or quick transitions.
In the second half, when Rice and Saka enter the fray, Arsenal's quality will rise sharply, and that's when the decisive goal comes. City will have their moments, they always do, especially if Haaland comes off the bench. but the lack of cohesion between so many new faces will limit their ability to create consistent, high-quality chances. The alternative scenario? If Arsenal can't break down City's defensive block, this ends 1-1 and goes to penalties. Exactly the outcome Opta's model gives a 25% probability. In that case, it comes down to Raya versus Donnarumma, two world-class goalkeepers, a coin flip with gloves on. But I lean Arsenal. They're more settled, they have a clearer tactical identity.
And most importantly, they carry the mentality of champions. Something City, under a brand new manager with a half-rebuilt squad, simply cannot replicate yet. If this is Maresca's first lesson in what it takes to compete at the very top, the tuition fee might just be a trophy. The 2026 Community Shield isn't just the opening act of the English football season. It's a collision between stability and upheaval. Between a manager who spent 3 years proving he belongs at the summit, and another who's been handed the keys to a dynasty and told to keep driving. Arteta has a Premier League title and a squad that believes in every word he says. Maresca has £200 million worth of new talent and a legacy that would crush most coaches before they'd even unpack their desk. 74,500 people will fill the Principality Stadium on Sunday afternoon. And while the Community Shield may not carry the weight of a league title or a Champions League final, for Maresca, it's his first chance to send a message. And for Arteta, it's his first chance to answer the only question that matters. Are Arsenal a one-season wonder or the real thing? The answer arrives on Sunday. Don't miss it. Let us know in the comments, Arsenal or City, who's lifting the trophy in Cardiff? And if you want to stay across every major storyline this season, subscribe to the channel. We'll be here for all of it.